Dr. Marcus Chen walked through the lower levels of Kepler Station, holding his data pad close to his chest. The human scientist was tired after a long day studying alien plants in his lab. He wanted to get back to his small room and rest. The station was busy as always, with different alien species moving through the metal hallways. Marcus took a wrong turn and found himself in the waste disposal area. The smell was terrible, and the lights were dim. He was about to turn back when he heard voices speaking in a language that sounded like musical notes mixed with breaking glass. He knew that sound. It was the Vethani language. The Vethani were tall aliens who looked like they were made of living crystal. Their bodies sparkled with different colors, and they moved with grace that made humans look clumsy. Most other species respected them because they were smart and powerful. Marcus had only seen them from far away before. He hid behind a large trash container and watched 3 Vethani adults. They were carrying something between them. At first, Marcus thought it was broken crystal, or some kind of art piece, but then he saw it move slightly, and his heart stopped. It was not a thing. It was a young Vethani girl. The girl's crystal body was different from the adults. Where their lower parts should have been strong and bright, hers were cracked and dull. She could not move her legs at all. Her whole body hung limp in their arms like she weighed nothing. Marcus listened as the adults spoke in their singing language. His translation device was old and not very good with Vethani words, but he caught some phrases that made him feel sick. "Defective spawn must be removed," said the tallest one, his crystal body flashing with cold blue light. "The gene pool cannot be polluted," agreed another, her voice like wind chimes in a storm. "She has lived too long already. The caretaker is dead." "No one will hide her now," said the third. Marcus watched in horror as they simply dropped the girl onto a pile of garbage. She hit the metal floor with a soft sound, like glass breaking underwater. The adults turned and walked away without looking back, their crystal feet clicking on the station floor. The girl lay still for a moment. Then, Marcus saw patterns of light move across her crystal skin. The colors were weak and flickering, but they were there. She was alive and scared. Marcus had studied many alien species in his 20 years as a scientist. He knew that light patterns on Vethani skin showed their feelings. Right now, the girl's patterns were showing pure terror. He stepped out from behind the trash container and walked slowly toward her. The girl heard his footsteps and turned her head. Her face was similar to a human face but made of clear crystal. Her eyes were like looking into deep water with lights dancing inside. When she saw Marcus, her light patterns became brighter with fear. She tried to move away from him, but her broken body would not work. She could only move her arms and head. Marcus knelt down beside her and held up his hands to show he meant no harm. He tried to remember the few Vethani words he had learned from his studies. "Safe," he said in her language, though his human voice made the words sound rough. "I will not hurt you." The girl stared at him with those deep water eyes. She had never seen a human this close before. Humans were known across the galaxy, but they were still new to most aliens. She had heard they were strange and unpredictable. Marcus could see that the girl was hurt in more ways than just her broken legs. There were cracks in her crystal skin that looked old, and some areas were cloudy instead of clear. Someone had not taken good care of her. "What is your name?" Marcus asked, using simple words his translator could handle. The girl's light patterns changed to show confusion. No one had asked her name in a long time. When she spoke, her voice was like quiet music. "Lithara," she whispered. Marcus smiled gently. "Hello, Lithara. My name is Marcus. I am a doctor." Lithara's patterns shifted again. She had heard the word doctor before. Doctors were supposed to help, but she had never known one to help someone like her. Marcus looked around the garbage area. It was no place for anyone, especially not a young girl who could not defend herself. He made a decision that would change both their lives. "I am going to pick you up now," he told her. "I want to take you somewhere safe and clean." Lithara's fear patterns came back, but there was something else mixed in now. A tiny spark of hope. Marcus slipped his arms under her carefully. She was lighter than he expected, and her crystal skin felt warm. As he lifted her, he could feel her shaking. "Where are you taking me?" she asked in her musical voice. To my home, Marcus said as he carried her toward the exit. No one should be left in the garbage. Everyone deserves better than that. As they left the waste disposal area, Lythara's light patterns slowly began to change. The terror was still there. But now there were other colors too. Colors that she had almost forgotten how to make. Marcus walked through the station corridors, carrying the alien girl who had been thrown away like trash. Other beings stared at them, but Marcus did not care. He had found someone who needed help, and he was going to help her. Behind them, the garbage area was empty, except for the real trash. For the first time in her life, Lythara was going somewhere that was not a hiding place or a disposal site. She was going home with someone who saw her as a person worth saving. Marcus carried Lythara through the quiet halls of the station. It was late, and most beings were in their rooms, sleeping or resting. His quarters were small, but clean, with white walls and simple furniture. He had never brought anyone here before, especially not an alien who needed medical care. He set Lythara down gently on his couch, which was covered with a soft blue blanket. She looked around the room with wide eyes, taking in the human decorations and strange furniture. Everything was so different from Vethani buildings. Are you hungry? Marcus asked, pulling up a chair beside the couch. Lythara's light patterns showed surprise. You want to feed me? Of course, Marcus said, like it was the most normal thing in the world. When did you last eat? She had to think about it. 3 days ago, maybe 4. The caretaker brought me food before she died. Marcus felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. Well, we need to fix that right now. He went to his small kitchen and looked through his food supplies. He had studied Vethani biology before, so he knew they could eat some of the same foods as humans. He found some fruit juice and crackers that should be safe for her. When he came back, Lythara was still staring around the room. Her crystal fingers traced the soft fabric of the blanket. I have never touched anything so soft, she said quietly. Marcus handed her the juice in a cup with a straw. Her hands shook a little as she took it. The taste made her light patterns glow brighter with pleasure. This is good, she said between sips. Sweet. While she ate and drank, Marcus got his medical scanner from his desk. May I examine you? I want to see how badly you are hurt. Lythara nodded. She had given up expecting privacy long ago. Marcus ran the scanner over her crystal body. The results made him frown. Her nervous system was completely fine. Her brain was healthy and active, but the crystal structures that let Vethani move their bodies were damaged in a way he had never seen before. You were born this way? He asked. Yes, Lythara said. My crystal growth was wrong. The doctors said I would die quickly, but I did not die. How old are you? 18 cycles, she replied. In human years, that was about 14. Marcus shook his head. You have survived 18 years with no proper care. That is amazing. Lythara's patterns showed confusion again. Amazing? I am broken. Worthless. My people say so. Your people are wrong, Marcus said firmly. Tell me about your life. What did you do all these years? Lythara began to speak, and Marcus learned her story. She had been hidden away since birth by an old female Vethani named Kethara, who worked in the station's data center. Kethara had felt sorry for the broken child and decided to keep her alive in secret. For 18 years, Lythara had lived in a small room behind the data center. She could not walk, so Kethara brought her everything she needed. But Kethara had also brought her something else: access to the station's computer systems. I learned to read when I was very young, Lythara explained. Kethara showed me how to use the computers. I read everything I could find. What kind of things? Marcus asked. Language files, science books, history records, mathematics, engineering manuals. She paused. I know 17 languages now. I have read about physics and chemistry and biology. I understand how starships work and how space stations are built. Marcus stared at her. You taught yourself all of that? I had nothing else to do, Lythara said simply. Reading was the only way I could travel to other worlds. Marcus pulled up a chair and sat down. Show me, he said, handing her his datapad. Lithara took the device and began to type. Her crystal fingers moved quickly across the screen. She pulled up complex mathematical equations and solved them in seconds. She translated text between different alien languages without using a translator. She explained the engineering principles behind faster-than-light travel in terms that Marcus, a trained scientist, could barely follow. "This is incredible," Marcus breathed. "You are incredibly smart." Lithara stopped typing and looked at him. "Smart does not matter if you cannot walk. Smart does not matter if your own people throw you in the garbage. It matters to me," Marcus said. "On my world, we have people who cannot walk. We do not throw them away. We help them. We build tools so they can move. We value their minds and their hearts." "Your world sounds very strange," Lithara said, but her light patterns showed interest. Marcus pulled up pictures on his datapad of humans in wheelchairs and people using artificial legs. He showed her videos of disabled humans doing amazing things. Racing in special chairs, climbing mountains with robot arms, and working as doctors and scientists and artists. Lithara watched with wonder. They are not hidden away? No, they are not hidden. They are respected. They contribute to society. They are valued. For the first time since Marcus had found her, Lithara's light patterns showed something new. Hope. "Could I ever be like them?" she asked quietly. "I think you already are like them," Marcus said. "You just need the right tools." Over the next few hours, Marcus learned more about Lithara. She was funny and curious and kind. When she laughed, her whole body sparkled with golden light. She asked thoughtful questions about human culture and seemed amazed by the idea of helping people instead of disposing of them. She also told him about Vethani society, how they believed that physical perfection was a gift from their gods, how they thought that broken bodies meant broken souls, how they had been throwing away disabled children for thousands of years. "But if they throw away all the different ones," Marcus asked, "how do they learn new ways of thinking?" Lithara had never thought about it that way before. "I do not know," she admitted. As the station's night cycle continued, Lithara began to trust Marcus more. She told him about her fears and dreams. She had always wondered what it would feel like to walk or to see the stars from an observation deck instead of just reading about them. "Maybe someday you will," Marcus said. When Lithara finally fell asleep on his couch, her light patterns were calmer than they had been in years. For the first time in her life, she felt safe. Marcus sat in his chair and watched her sleep. He was already forming a plan in his mind. He had contacts back on Earth, brilliant scientists who specialized in helping disabled humans. Maybe, just maybe, they could help a disabled alien too. Tomorrow, he would start making some calls. Marcus woke up early the next morning and quietly made breakfast while Lithara slept. She was still curled up on his couch, her crystal body giving off a soft glow in the dim room. When she opened her eyes, the light patterns across her skin showed confusion for a moment before she remembered where she was. "Good morning," Marcus said softly. "I made some food for you." Lithara sat up slowly. "You did not change your mind about helping me?" "No," Marcus said firmly. "I have been thinking about how to help you even more." After breakfast, Marcus set up his communication system. He needed to contact Dr. Sarah Kim on Earth. Sarah was his old friend from university, and now one of the best neural interface specialists in human space. The call took several minutes to connect across the long distance. When Sarah's face appeared on the screen, she smiled widely. "Marcus, it has been too long. How are things on that space station of yours?" "Sarah, I need your help with something important," Marcus said. "Something that has never been tried before." He explained about Lithara and her condition. He showed Sarah the medical scans and described the Vethani crystal biology. Sarah listened with growing interest. "So her nervous system works perfectly, but she cannot control her body's crystal matrix?" Sarah asked. "Exactly. Her brain sends the signals, but they cannot reach her legs." Sarah was quiet for a moment, thinking, "We have neural interfaces that help paralyzed humans control artificial limbs. But alien biology is completely different. That is why I need you," Marcus said. You are the best at this kind of work. Let me see her, Sarah requested. Marcus turned the screen so Sarah could see Lithara, who was working on his datapad. When Sarah spoke to her, Lithara looked up in surprise. Hello, Lithara. Marcus tells me you are very smart. Lithara's light patterns showed nervousness. I try to learn as much as I can. What are you working on right now? I am reading about human neural systems. I want to understand how your brains control your bodies. Sarah raised her eyebrows. That is advanced medical science. Do you understand it? Lithara nodded and began explaining neural pathways and electrical signals in perfect scientific terms. Sarah's expression changed from polite interest to amazement. Marcus, Sarah said quietly. She understands this better than some of my graduate students. Over the next hour, Sarah and Lithara discussed the technical details of neural interfaces. Lithara asked intelligent questions and even suggested improvements to some existing designs. I think we can help her, Sarah finally said. But we will need detailed scans of her crystal structure and nervous system. Marcus spent the rest of the day running medical tests on Lithara. She was patient and helpful, explaining how different parts of her body were supposed to work. Her knowledge of her own biology was impressive, but their work was interrupted when Marcus's door chimed. He opened it to find 3 tall Vethani standing in the hallway. They were different from the ones who had thrown Lithara away, but their crystal bodies showed the same cold, proud patterns. Human doctor, the leader spoke, his voice like ice breaking. We know you have taken our genetic waste. Return it immediately. She has a name, Marcus said calmly. Her name is Lithara, and she is not waste. The Vethani looked past Marcus and saw Lithara on the couch. Their light patterns showed disgust and anger. That thing should have been disposed of years ago. You are interfering with natural law. Natural law? Marcus stepped forward. You mean throwing away children because they are different? Defectives pollute the gene pool, another Vethani said. They must be removed, so our species stays pure and strong. Marcus felt anger building inside him, but he kept his voice steady. Where I come from, we believe every person has value. We help those who need help. Your species is young and foolish, the leader replied. You do not understand genetic purity. Give us the defective, and we will dispose of it properly. No, Marcus said firmly. The Vethani were not used to being told no, especially by humans. Their crystal bodies flashed with angry colors. This is not your decision to make, human. That creature belongs to us. She belongs to herself, Marcus replied. And she chooses to stay here. The Vethani left with threats about contacting station security and the Galactic Council. After they were gone, Marcus found Lithara's light patterns showing deep sadness. I should go with them, she said quietly. I do not want to cause trouble for you. You are not going anywhere, Marcus said. We are going to help you walk, and then we will see what your people think about genetic waste. Over the following days, Marcus and Sarah worked together across space to design a solution. They called it a biomechanical exoskeleton, a framework that would attach to Lithara's body and connect directly to her nervous system. The design was challenging. Human neural interfaces were made for human biology, but Lithara proved to be invaluable in the design process. She understood both human and Vethani biology and could explain how to bridge the differences. The crystal matrix responds to specific electrical frequencies, she explained during one design session. If you modulate the signals like this, she drew complex diagrams that showed exactly how to make human technology work with alien biology. Word of their project began to spread around the station. Other humans started offering help. Engineer Rodriguez from the maintenance department donated rare metals for the exoskeleton frame. Chef Patel began preparing special foods that would help Lithara's body heal and grow stronger. Even Security Chief Morrison, a gruff ex-military man, started standing guard outside Marcus's quarters to keep the Vethani away. Why are you all helping me? Lithara asked one day, as Rodriguez installed new components in her growing exoskeleton. Because that is what humans do, Rodriguez replied simply. We help each other. We do not leave anyone behind. Lithara's light patterns showed wonder. Your species is very strange. Strange good or strange bad? Morrison asked from his position by the door. Strange, wonderful, Lithara replied. The exoskeleton took weeks to build. It was beautiful, combining human engineering with Vethani artistic style. The metal framework was designed to look like crystal formations, and LED lights would mimic the Vethani's natural bioluminescence. But the most important part was the neural interface, tiny connectors that would link directly to Lithara's nervous system and translate her brain signals into movement commands for the artificial legs. As the project neared completion, the Vethani pressure increased. They demanded meetings with station administrators and threatened to cut off trade relationships. But the humans working on the project did not give up. Let them threaten, Sarah said during one of their video calls. When Lithara walks for the first time, the whole galaxy will see what we can accomplish when we refuse to give up on people. The night before the first test, Lithara could barely contain her excitement. Her whole body sparkled with anticipation. Tomorrow, you might take your first steps, Marcus said. Tomorrow, I might prove that genetic waste can walk, Lithara replied with a smile. Marcus smiled back. Tomorrow, you might prove that your people have been wrong for thousands of years. The morning of the test came with unusual excitement on Kepler Station. Word had spread quietly through the human community about what Marcus and his team were attempting. A small crowd of humans gathered in Marcus's lab, which had been expanded to accommodate the exoskeleton testing equipment. Lithara sat on the medical table, looking at the beautiful device that might change her life. The exoskeleton was like a work of art. Silver metal, shaped like crystal formations, with glowing lights that would pulse in rhythm with her heartbeat. The neural interface headband looked delicate, but contained the most advanced technology humans had ever created. Are you ready? Marcus asked gently. Lithara's light patterns showed nervousness mixed with hope. I have been ready my whole life. Sarah appeared on the communication screen from Earth, her face tense with concentration. Remember, if you feel any pain or discomfort, tell us immediately. Doctor. Rodriguez helped fit the exoskeleton around Lithara's crystal legs, while Marcus carefully placed the neural interface band around her head. The tiny connectors touched her crystal skin, and immediately her light patterns changed to show surprise. I can feel it, she whispered. Something is connected to my thoughts. The interface is reading your neural signals, Sarah explained. Now, try to think about moving your left leg. Lithara closed her eyes and concentrated. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the mechanical leg began to move. Her crystal patterns exploded with light, pure, brilliant joy that filled the room. It worked, she gasped. I can feel my leg. She tried the right leg, then both together. The movements were slow and careful at first, but they were real. After 18 years of being unable to move, Lithara was controlling her own body. Now, Marcus said, let's see if you can stand. With Rodriguez and Marcus supporting her arms, Lithara slowly stood up. The exoskeleton adjusted to her weight and balance, keeping her stable. Her light patterns were so bright that the humans had to squint. I am standing, she whispered, her voice full of wonder. I am actually standing. Try taking a step, Sarah encouraged from the screen. Lithara lifted her left foot and placed it forward, then the right foot. She was walking. For the first time in her life, she was walking on her own power. The humans in the room began to cheer and clap. Lithara's crystal body shimmered with colors that none of them had ever seen before. Patterns of joy so pure that the translation devices could not find words for them. How does it feel? Marcus asked. Like flying, Lithara replied, taking another careful step. Like magic. Like being alive for the first time. She spent the next hour learning to walk properly. The exoskeleton was smart enough to help her balance and prevent falls, but she was controlling the movement with her own mind. By the end of the session, she was walking smoothly around the lab. This is just the beginning, Sarah said proudly. As you practice, it will feel more and more natural. But their celebration was interrupted when the lab door opened. A group of Vethani entered, led by a tall female with especially bright crystal formations. Her light patterns showed authority and cold anger. "I am Shalthek, diplomatic representative of the Vethani people," she announced. "This abomination must stop immediately." The humans formed a protective circle around Lythara, who had stopped walking and was showing fear patterns again. "There is no abomination here," Marcus said firmly. "Only medical treatment. You have corrupted the natural order." Shalthek replied, her crystal body flashing with disgust. "Genetic defectives are not meant to walk. They are not meant to live. You have interfered with divine will." "Divine will?" Rodriguez stepped forward angrily. "What kind of gods would want children thrown in the garbage?" Shalthek ignored him and focused on Lythara. "Creature, you will come with us now. Your unnatural movements end today." But Lythara surprised everyone. Instead of cowering as she had always done, she stood straighter and faced Shalthek directly. "My name is Lythara," she said clearly, "and I will not go with you." Shalthek's patterns showed shock. Defectives were not supposed to speak with such confidence. "You are genetic waste," Shalthek said harshly. "You have no rights, no voice, no value." "Then why are you afraid of me?" Lythara asked. The question caught Shalthek off guard. "Afraid? I am not afraid of broken refuse. If I am refuse, why do you need a diplomatic representative to deal with me?" Lythara continued. "Why does my walking threaten you so much?" Lythara began to move around the room, her exoskeleton carrying her with growing confidence. With each step, her light patterns became brighter and more complex. "You say I am worthless," Lythara said as she walked, "but I speak 17 languages. You speak 3. I understand quantum physics and stellar engineering. I have read the entire Vethani legal code and found 47 contradictions in your genetic purity laws." The other Vethani in the group began to show patterns of uncertainty. They had never heard a defective speak like this. "Lies," Shalthek said, but her patterns were wavering. Marcus pulled up a computer terminal. "Test her," he challenged. "Ask her anything." Shalthek, trapped by her own pride, began asking questions about Vethani history, mathematics, and law. Lythara answered each one perfectly, often providing more detail than Shalthek expected. When Shalthek asked about the sacred mathematical theorems that only high priests were supposed to know, Lythara not only recited them but explained their proofs and pointed out an error that had gone unnoticed for centuries. The room fell silent. The Vethani delegation was staring at Lythara with something approaching awe. "You see," Marcus said quietly, "your people have been throwing away their greatest treasures. How many brilliant minds have you disposed of because their bodies were not perfect?" One of the younger Vethani in the delegation stepped forward. "Shalthek, if she knows the sacred theorems better than our priests—" "Silence," Shalthek snapped. But her authority was cracking. "Intelligence does not matter if the form is wrong." "Why not?" Lythara asked simply. "Who decided that crystal formations matter more than thoughts? Who decided that perfect bodies are more valuable than curious minds?" Shalthek had no answer. For the first time in her long life, she was facing questions that challenged everything she believed. "This changes nothing," she said finally. "Our trade agreements with this station are cancelled. The Galactic Council will hear of this corruption of natural law." As the Vethani delegation left, Lythara continued walking around the lab. But now, her light patterns showed determination instead of fear. "Let them tell the Galactic Council," she said firmly. "Let them tell everyone. I am not ashamed of who I am anymore." Marcus watched her walk with pride swelling in his chest. The frightened girl he had found in the garbage had become a confident young woman who was ready to challenge an entire culture. "What do we do now?" Rodriguez asked. Lythara smiled, her whole body sparkling with resolve. "Now we show the galaxy what genetic waste can accomplish." News of Lythara's story spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. The human communication networks carried the tale of the paralyzed alien girl, who learned to walk with human help. Videos of her first steps were shared millions of times. Images of her brilliant light patterns as she discussed complex mathematics became symbols of hope. Within days, responses began coming in from across known space. Other alien species started sharing their own stories about members they had hidden or abandoned because of disabilities. A Corvan family revealed they had secretly cared for their son who was born without proper breathing filters. A Zelth colony admitted they had been hiding dozens of individuals whose carapaces had grown incorrectly. The human embassy on the capital world of New Geneva received thousands of messages from disabled aliens asking for help. Earth's medical universities began organizing relief missions to develop assistive technologies for different species. But the strongest response came from the Vethani homeworlds themselves. 3 weeks after Lithara's first steps, a secret message reached Kepler Station. It was from a group calling themselves the Hidden Light, Vethani, who had been secretly caring for defective family members for generations. "We have watched your human doctor save our sister," the message said. "We want to learn. We want to help. We want to stop hiding." Marcus and Lithara worked together to establish secure communications with the Hidden Light. What they learned shocked them both. There were thousands of disabled Vethani living in secret across their home worlds, cared for by family members who risked everything to keep them alive. Some had been hidden for decades. Many had developed remarkable skills, just like Lithara. They had become artists, mathematicians, engineers, and philosophers, all while officially not existing. The Galactic Council called an emergency session to address what they called the Vethani question. Shalthek arrived to defend her people's traditions, but she was accompanied by an unexpected guest. Marcus and Lithara traveled to the council station as witnesses. When Lithara walked into the great assembly hall using her exoskeleton, her crystal body blazing with confident light patterns, the entire galaxy watched. "Honorable representatives," she began, speaking in perfect galactic standard. "My name is Lithara. According to my people's laws, I should not exist. I should have been disposed of as genetic waste 18 years ago." The assembly hall was completely silent. Beings from hundreds of worlds watched as this young Vethani female stood before them with dignity and strength. "But I do exist," she continued. "And I exist because one human being saw value where my people saw only waste. Dr. Marcus Chen taught me that worth is not measured by the perfection of our bodies, but by the content of our hearts and minds." She went on to tell her full story. The years of hiding, the disposal in the garbage, Marcus's rescue, and the creation of her exoskeleton. Then she presented her evidence about Vethani genetic purity laws. "I have studied our legal codes for years," she said. "The genetic purity laws were not handed down by our gods. They were written by politicians 3,000 years ago during a time of war. They were meant to create strong soldiers, not to guide our civilization forever." Shalthek rose to object, but Lithara continued, "I challenge anyone in this assembly to test my knowledge against theirs. I challenge anyone to prove that my paralyzed legs make my mind less valuable. I challenge my people to explain how disposing of intelligence and wisdom makes us stronger." The challenge was accepted. For 3 hours, representatives from different worlds questioned Lithara on science, law, philosophy, and mathematics. She answered every question brilliantly, often providing insights that impressed even the most learned scholars. When the questioning ended, the assembly voted unanimously to condemn the Vethani genetic disposal practices and passed the Universal Dignity Accords, FAD, laws protecting disabled individuals across all member species. But the real change began on the Vethani homeworlds. The Hidden Light revealed themselves publicly, bringing their disabled family members out of hiding. Videos of paralyzed Vethani creating beautiful art and solving complex problems spread through their society. Young Vethani who had grown up with other species began questioning their parents' beliefs. Protests erupted in crystal cities as citizens demanded an end to the disposal laws. Shalthek herself experienced a personal crisis. After the council session, she privately contacted Marcus with a shocking confession. "My own child was born with a small crystal malformation," she admitted through the communication link. "I have hidden her for 10 years, telling everyone she died at birth. Watching Lithara, I cannot continue this lie." Marcus arranged for Shalthek's daughter to receive treatment. When the proud diplomat was seen publicly with her imperfect child, It sent shockwaves through Vethani society. 6 months after Lithara's first steps, the Vethani High Council voted to abolish the genetic disposal laws. They established rehabilitation centers on every Vethani world and began searching for disabled individuals who had been hidden away. Lithara became the director of the first interspecies disability rights organization. Her headquarters were established on Kepler Station, the place where her new life had begun. Beings from across the galaxy came to learn about assistive technologies and inclusive societies. Marcus continued his scientific work, but now he spent half his time developing medical devices for different alien species. He and Lithara worked together to create exoskeletons, neural interfaces, and other technologies that gave disabled beings new possibilities. On the first anniversary of her rescue, Lithara stood in the observation deck of Kepler Station, looking out at the stars. Her exoskeleton had been upgraded several times, and she moved with natural grace. Beside her stood Marcus and a group of young beings from different species, all of them using human-designed assistive technologies to overcome their disabilities. "A year ago, I was lying in garbage, waiting to die," Lithara said to the group. "Today, I am planning missions to help disabled beings on 12 different worlds." A young Korvan with artificial breathing filters spoke up. "My family was going to abandon me until they heard your story." A Zelth with robotic legs added, "My carapace never grew right, but now I can run faster than my brothers." Marcus watched them with quiet pride. These young beings would grow up in a galaxy where differences were valued, where disabilities were challenges to overcome rather than reasons for disposal. Lithara turned to Marcus with light patterns that showed deep gratitude and affection. "Thank you," she said simply. "For what?" Marcus asked. "For seeing a person where others saw only trash. For lifting me up when my own people threw me away. For teaching me that broken things can be made beautiful again." Marcus smiled. "You taught yourself to be beautiful. I just helped you stand up so everyone else could see it." As the stars wheeled overhead, representatives from the hidden light arrived on the station, bringing with them dozens of Vethani who had been living in secret, children who had never seen sunlight, adults who had spent decades hiding their talents, elders who had given up hope of ever being accepted. Lithara greeted each one personally, her light patterns showing welcome and understanding. She had work to do, a galaxy full of beings who needed to learn that everyone deserved a chance to prove their worth. The frightened girl who had been thrown away like garbage had become a beacon of hope for millions. And it all started because one human being had refused to walk past someone who needed help. The measure of a civilization, Marcus reflected as he watched Lithara work, truly was not in how it treated the strong, but in how it lifted up the fallen. The humans had taught the galaxy that lesson, and the galaxy would never be the same.